Okay, let's quickly take a look at the jungle in 13.20. We have here a Graves versus a Maokai with the buffed lethality, with the changes in the jungle, with the buffed tank clearing through the Maokai, and obviously we have a Kai'Sa with her armor reduction, not doing much, but in this particular case, giving herself a first blood on the center. This will slow down the Graves' clear, but we get the assist, and on the other side, you will notice that the Maokai is stealing his red side. So, how do we adapt to this, and also, how do we play in the jungle with these changes? Tankier camps. We have less damage from the pets for damage dealers and more damage from the pets to the monsters for tank users. We have Doran's starting items across the board being Astro buffed. And of course we have the glitch where if you do Raptors Red Krugs with a Shaco or a Zyra or a Morgana or a Lilia, you don't even get level 3. Although that is being hotfixed today, hopefully shortly, so I'm not going to make a video about that. However, on the other hand, the Maokai, the Sejuani, the Zac, the Hydran, the Ramus, all those win rates are looking very juicy and strong. But where most people are kind of getting a little bit carried away is they think jungle's totally ruined. I don't think it's that ruined where you're honestly going to remember these changes in a couple months, in a couple weeks, because we'll just adapt as we always do. And while it is drastically changed, I don't really think it's going to be one of those things where we're kind of worry too much about it in a few patches. Just the systemic changes. Obviously the glitches, the outliers, the big bugs, the initial meta changing, and the kind of, we have to get used to all of rune changes as well, that damage profile going down. Yes, we will have to get used to it, but in the end of all games, at the end of the day, junglers will figure out a way to survive and thrive as we always have done. If you want help implementing this information into your own game, I have a free jungle improvement resource and a dedicated program where we have jungle video courses, jungle coaching VOD libraries, weekly coaching classes, Q&As, patch note rundowns, private high elo streams, as well as a private jungle Discord. And I know how to make junglers convert from low elo to gold to emerald to diamond to master plus. If you want to climb faster than anybody you know, jungle diff every game you play, head to virkayu.gg. Malka goes for this gank up to the right side quadrant. Now you see, where things are interesting is if this is quicker, right? And of course, more HP on the large raptor, more HP on the camps after the first clear. The first clear is exactly the same other than that. We have here the Maokai getting this level 3 from the Krug camp, so he doesn't get glitched by that, when I was talking about with the Shaco and the Lily and the Zyra. But because things can take a little longer, now the Graves is already crossing over later, whereas if the Graves had done a regular clear and no shenanigans level 1 to Blue Grump Wolves, and he sees this occur, he knows immediately he can cut into vertical. The thing is, because of the delayed level 1, and because obviously it takes a little bit longer with 100 HP onto the Raptor camp, this guy now shows a little later than he normally would have. The Graves is crossing over a little later than he normally would be, so this opens him up to invade the Maokai on his blue side, to gank the mid lane without concern, and obviously here if the Maokai decides to go back to his red side quadrant, as we covered in the previous channel, the previous video on the main channel, this is where you get collapse spawn. This is the exact same scenario we had in that video, talking about jungle diff. The Maokai has to assume that this is going to be the case. He has to respect this possibility. That's why this invade is really, really silly in most cases. And obviously Graves is still pretty strong here. Gets the kill, has the red buff ticking. Obviously here has his E up again. Renekton comes over the wall, gets it done on the Silas, and the Graves is like, cool. Cool. Now, why is Graves stronger? Why is Graves OP? Why is Graves the center of attention in this video? Well, the big meta thing is, right guys, all the camps thereafter from the first clear are going to be harder to take. They're going to scale with HP throughout the game. Okay, Smite has lost a lot of its skill expression, all of its skill expression, but they buffed all the starting items. And they buffed Ghostblade. So, while we're seeing a lot of junglers actually go for the Doran's Blade first base, just to ensure they have this power because the starting items are really that strong, okay? These ones in particular is their Doran's Blade in this game. Here we go. They're buffing this, more HP, more AD, huge item to actually rush. And now, obviously, the Graves is already strong, okay? But then they buffed the Ghostblade, gave the lethality back. I don't know why. So, his items were buffed. Everyone's clearing slower and less healthily, which means he can invade them, kill them, take all their stuff, and also just keep pressure up. But also, when you go for these counter invades as a tank or as any other jungler, and you show on the side lane, and you know that most likely the enemy jungler is crossing over from that side to your red side, and won't vertical jungle you, they will invade you and do. How has he done this twice in the same game? I play Maokai, Legacy. Not now, I don't play now. It's been too broken for me to play now. I don't like playing things that are Astro broken. I don't know, I like pain. But in Season 7, I would play it when no one played it. I can't imagine having done that twice in the same phase of the game where you get flashed with your W, but it is a Korean game, so low ping, easy flash, easy travel. Basically, the Graves now doesn't go for the door ends. We're not seeing enough people go for it yet, but as the tip, do it. I will be rushing, or not rushing, but if a first phase of the game doesn't give me huge item spikes, like the Dirk and things like that, right? Because obviously we have the Dirk and the longsword here. Although you could argue maybe we could have just gone for the Doran's Blade. You know, I might even rush the ring on certain AP champions. Remember, Darkseer was also buffed, so everyone's like, alright, I'll take another extra buff, no stress. What it seems like is farming junglers are enjoying themselves, tank junglers are enjoying themselves, ganking junglers are not, but at the same time, tank ganking junglers will have a better time. Because tank ganking junglers, all of a sudden, you know, they don't mind losing a few camps to counter jungling, they don't mind having lower econ, because the impact is so much stronger, and obviously because there's less damage across the board, they're going to live longer, which is great, which is what we want. However, I invite them to actually watch a Graves first, because as you can see here now, out of base, we come and take this, we look at bottom lane, can we gank this? Yes, we can, alright, let's do it. Lane experience, leeching for junglers, nerfed all the way up to 20 minutes. Hey, you're still going to push it, you're still going to be there, that's the whole thing, right? Nothing about your actual jungling changes. Nothing has changed. Maokai didn't invade, did a Raptor start, gank top lane. Graves decided, hey, I can invade you on this, and did. Then Graves decided to pull back, go back to base, get huge items, and said, outside the rule, I'm going to take the Scuttle Crab, which has also been buffed. Juicier, more gold later. So, what can I do now? I can get bottom lane. Cool. And it falls back to his cams. All of this is exactly the same for the Graves. And his items are better. And because there's less damage in the game, he can also live longer, kite longer, survive longer. And even though Fleet Footwork was nerfed, it wasn't as hardly nerfed. It wasn't nerfed as drastically as some other runes. So, we see here the Irelia going in, then we have the roaming supports, Graves shows up, hits his W. Again, the W usage is the biggest difference in Graves players. We try to go in the Irelia, force a flash, she dies to the Irelia. The Alistar, she dies to herself basically. I mean, that kind of works. And now look at this, we're keeping our spacing here, we've got the Dirk, still an amazing item. Doran's Blade will give you so much here, nice cube, 2 on the way back here. The Maokai dies, keep your spacing. This is fine. Remember, in this particular game, all match histories are linked in the description, but this Renekton has 5% KP. 5% KP. Kai'Sa's like 47%, Graves is 70% plus. So that's why I chose this one, because I wanted to show you that they specifically nerfed snowballing. So normally I do like to keep these games in a reasonable time frame, like 20 to 30 minutes. But one of the biggest things that they nerfed as well was snowballing. Because obviously, as we know, the plate gold has been reduced. The local herald gold has been reduced. Dragons in individual form have been nerfed. Their stats have been reduced. So people are asking, okay, well look, if farming junglers are going to be okay and tanks are going to be good, what about assassins? Assassins seem to be the ones struggling the most, but that's fine. Your items were broken, you had a lot of fun. It's time to let some other classes show up. And honestly, you will be fine eventually, don't worry. Any damage nerfs and problems you have will be rebuffed and fixed, no stress. But in terms of your Graves, your Briars, and those carry junglers, you're fine. Lee Sin 2, Viego's going to be great. Bel'Veth has been giga nerfed, but there are builds that can work, so pay attention to that. But my whole point of showing you a big Graves dominating video is that he's using the same runes, he's going to be building the same builds, except Ghostblade buffed, or Dom's buffed, okay, and the champion is able to thrive in this kind of environment, so it's all about adapting at the same time as not adapting too much. Yep. Understand where the changes have come, understand the impact that they're going to have, and then keep on doing what you were always doing. Nothing about what the Graves has done here is going to change your life. What's changing are itemization, counters, which champions will be meta. Ramus, Ivern, 55% win rate. 1% pick rate, but 55% win rate on those champions. Graves has his 10% pick rate, and now his win rate's like almost 52%. So, with the buffs directly to Graves, starting items, and the lack of damage, guys thriving. But the snowballing component, you will feel it. You will feel it. You will notice that's gold and herald and on plates. You know, a couple hundred gold is noticeable when you're looking for item completion. However, we just crossed 20 on our treat marker. We have our Duskblade finished. Could be sitting on a Doran's Blade as well, but not necessary. Definitely strong, but not necessary. I mean, with Lee Sin, you're looking at an inventory space issue, just because obviously you need control wards, and you keep your warding totem, and you're buying your regular itemization, you're buying the Doran's Blade, so things kind of stack up for him a little bit. But, look at this. Hey, can I go outside and take this dragon, because I don't think Maokai's going to be doing anything? Yeah, sure, okay, I can do that. Maokai is severely compromised, and I think here, the lack of experience leeching, and catch-up experience in the lanes. Here we go. Hello, nicely done, Cow. Maokai also tried disengage, doesn't matter. That is a dead center. The Maokai is behind now, and he's going to struggle to come back into the game as much because it's much harder to farm and catch up that way. It's also going to be more difficult to kill people when you're really far behind because you're just going to lack the damage to get through their inherent, well, you just don't have the runes, right? There's less damage in the game. He tries to go in here, dies, does get the kill back in the Graves and the shutdown because he is obviously Maokai, and the Kai'Sa presses Q on the Unbroken Glaive. Remember, low range ADC, losing base armor, that does matter in early trades, especially in bottom lane, especially when she's outranged. But at the same time, it's still Kai'Sa, it's not going to radically change her existence. The whole point for Feel is we had a Broxa clip on Twitter where Broxa goes top lane, Qs, the minion shows up just in time, but if you saw that was going to happen, you could smite the minion, still hit your Q, and then shake out boxes, you could smite the boxes, he couldn't do it, and he was like, what am I doing? Those things you will notice. The smite changes you will notice. A feel will change. But in terms of your actual jungle pathing, your goals, you know, what are you going to do? Stop doing the stuff that worked now. You're just going to get a little less for it. There you go. So Graves now. Second Dirk, obviously. We will go into Collector, most likely, and then, of course, the Lord Doms, as is standard this way. You can go Black Cleaver as well. Depends on the game state. Adapt your itemization accordingly. We're flexing our topside quadrant here and going to look to cut in. We see here the Maokai going in on the Garagi Ice, getting mega CC'd for 10,000 years. He flashes up the wall. Graves shows up and says, yo, what's up? I have Herald. So, the objective ping pong hasn't changed. The invade and reacting to pressure hasn't changed. Don't overthink it. Feel is important. You will get used to the feel. And now, I've been negative about these changes. I've told you the ping changes are stupid. I've told you everything I actually think about how right I've gone about these things. But look at this. Does it look like the guy lacks damage? No, because it's Graves, obviously. He's built the Ghost Blade item. So, once more, it's going to be about the champions and the items and the runes that rise to the top of the oil on top of the water that you need to play to make it easier. And yes, some of you who play very popular champions will be having a rough time, but that's okay. Balvets was just OP for months. You know, Jarvan's been OP for a very long time. That's a nerf it. This is the nature of the game and the nature of the jungle. What makes us strong? We adapt and overcome, and we understand the jungle's always going to be changed. Now, obviously, things like Graves show up again and are still good, and he's 3 levels up here. Look at this, walking in. Why would you? Look, they nerfed damage out of runes and the scaling on runes and on certain aspects of the game, and they gave, you know, starting items more stats so that you can be more potent against jungle ganks and, of course, in your trades. But did that look like an issue? You know, if you're a Fed Rengar, you can still do this. At the highest level of playing Challenger Plus, they will feel these things a lot more, right? Because it's always about pilot gap, and you've got draft issues, and all the champions that have been playing, that are being played at the highest level. So then you notice these little things a lot more. But in your Emerald games, your Diamond games, and the Master games here like this is why I chose this. You know, look at this. Zeta's going to turn this around here. Gragas is a little bit low. Silas goes and kills that, and Graves is like, well, I don't really care about this. You know, Kai'Sa's got 914, but she's not going to be involved as much in terms of closing out. Now, you're worried, okay, look, it's a snowball game. We go to Dragon Wiggler Herald, we're really fed. Enemy jungle's down 40 CS. Yes. You can still outfarm people. Because remember, once you've finished upgrading your pet, 9 more stacks to go. The AoE is going from 50% to 100%. So, while the HP of the camps will go up, you're noticing it, it's just going to create a little bit less downtime for you. But is this a problem? No, look at this. This is fine. What do I say? 14 minutes, 6,000 gold is your minimum for like that 1v9. Hey, I can carry this game. Let's have a look. 8,000. 9,000 is the scenario special. We're at 8,000. Do you feel like if you played like this, you could carry most of your games with your chosen champion? Yes. Are you playing a tank and getting put behind by the Graves and the Briars of the world? Okay, well then path a little bit better. The Maokai with this into this, that's all him. He compromised himself. We know that's going to happen, right? Graves is not going to flex vertical here when he can just kill you, take your stuff, force you down here, cut across, gank this, and push you out here. He just used proper jungle pathing, and that hasn't changed at all. So that's just kind of the driving home point here. I'm trying to put a positive spin on it. I'm a cutie pie logic of, hey, you can't stop them from changing it. They changed it, so deal with it, figure out a way to adapt to it. Complaining about it for 10 years isn't going to change anything. Now, feel is important, as I mentioned, so we'll play games, we'll understand the full meta soon, and I'll make a video on the main channel summarizing everything. But Graves is not one of those champions that's necessarily compromised. Guy is still going to be absolutely correct. Ghostblade being buffed is just so funny to me. We do hit that EW, which is enough to get the the slow from the Gragas here. Obviously, just be a little cautious, obviously, but you're super fed. Hello, there we go. Again, yes, Electrocute has been nerfed. Yes, things have been nerfed, but you got the damage, guys. You got the snowball component. Stop overthinking it. Get used to the field quickly. Play your stuff that's strong. Figure out which champions you want to play in this patch, which ones you counter, which runes you can adapt to your one trick, and which items you can adapt to your one trick. But if you're building Ghostblade, you should be absolutely fine. Graves is obviously a bit of those, you know, one of those meta-agnostic champions. He's good no matter what. But I just kind of wanted to show you what happens when you snowball. Can you still take this lead across the finish line? Your Kai'Sa is dead as well now, obviously, so we don't really pay attention to those things. We're 10-1-9. Gold, she's 8.2, you know? And that's the thing, because Korea is a big snowball server, right? They're always about the, how do we close games out quickly? How do we go next game quickly? Comeback mechanics? No, not for me. All of the stuff that you know about comeback mechanics is the same, right? It's not going to change. We have on this channel a lot of comeback mechanics, especially recently as well. Even with Faker, we have it. Those things will still work. But because the snowball's been reduced, you have to be a bit more on your game. You know, one dragon isn't going to mean as much as it used to. The gold amounts aren't going to mean as much as they used to. So it's all about how do I use the gold I am getting and the stats I am getting to the maximum, right? But, hey, there's a dragon. Okay, well, I'm not going to say no to a dragon because they nerfed the stats. That's it. That's you know, in a nutshell. Now, to close this game out, obviously, we're 16 minutes, 27-8. Most of the time, people don't come back here, but you and I have all seen enough Senna Silas games where they have done exactly that. So, they're out of position. We go in here. Absolute smooth combos, get the free cash money kill. Okay, goes in here, Q's the other direction to get out. Phase rush proc, runs very fast away. Graves says, well, I'll get a kill and then reposition, wait for the wave. I do have a Herald that I can use as well. There we go. We have here the Silas going in for some particular reason. He's going to get hit on the Q back, which of course he does, a Q2 proc. Graves ease into gap close onto the center. Auto attack. Auto attack. Does flash that Q. No R force. That's fine. That's cool. You can hit this. I know you're feeling right now. I made a tweet about this. The bugs and all the frustrations, I get it. I get it. But I hope the lesson that we can have in this video is just play. Just jungle. Don't overthink it. And when you do that, you will see what has changed a lot better than when you're trying to compensate too much. That's basically the lesson. And also, if you're snowballing, there's less catch-up mechanics to the face. There's less catch-up mechanics for junglers as a whole system. So if you're a ganking jungler, that's where you're gonna note that, you know, if you're Graves Nidalee, well, it's okay to invade and be aggressive, but if you're overzealous with those things, you don't want to get caught behind. So as for the Maokai, he went for an aggressive invade early, bit him in the ass because he did some weird W flash things, got pushed out of his own jungle and has never recovered. And that's where I have issues. But tank junglers who play more intelligently, understand what these enemy farming junglers are going to do and what they can do to leverage that new scaling and their resistances, like the Ramesses and the Ivans and the Zacks and the Sejuanis, who also went up 2% win rate. I'm going to break out the Ornn again, see if that feels a little bit better, because it's felt terrible. I honestly think that's a good shift for tank junglers to be able to navigate these environments. But if you're a ganking jungler like an Elise, the clears might feel a little worse, and the scaling might feel bad when you don't get fed. And, you know, think about those things. The damage is definitely going down, but there is stuff that works, there is stuff that snowballs, and there is stuff that wins. And you know what? The damage by the Graves here, astronomically higher than anyone else in the game. 16, 111, 111 top laner. Kai'Sa didn't really do anything after a little bit. Alistar did a good job, but you can still jungle, you can still snowball, you can still do the same stuff. Please understand that. But yeah, I don't know why they buffed Ghostblade. Graves is strong. Play Graves, I guess, is the lesson, I suppose, at least that. Virkayu, GG for all your cool stuff. See you all in the next one.